noticed the seasons seem to change with the time of day.
Yeah.
And there are no animals.
And you sense it.
Mm-hmm. Since we arrived. The Force is very strong.
An intersection unlike anything I've ever felt before. Be wary.
Excuse me. Who are you taking us to?
The Father, of course.
Of course.
And what exactly are you?
We are the ones who guard the power. We are the middle, the beginning, and the end.
Glad she cleared that up for us.
Somewhere in a lonely hotel room, there's a guy starting to realize that his eternal fate has turned its back on him. And it's 2 a.m. It's 2 a.m. The fear is gone. I'm sitting here, waiting. The gun's still warm. Maybe my connection is tired of taking chances. Yeah, there's a storm on the loose, sirens in my head. I'm wrapped up in silence, all circuits are dead. I cannot decode, my whole life spins into a frenzy. Help, I'm stepping into the twilight.
Winter sucks.
Yeah, you know, it was going fine.
Yeah.
And then, it looked like it was almost over in a weird way.
No, it's
And
not
then,
over.
Not only did we get a ton of snow, our friends on the East Coast definitely know what we're talking about. But I was also stricken ill.
Me too.
Lame.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. Yeah.
I haven't been sick in years.
Yeah. We are both sick here at SW Dog, and we're still doing shows even though we're sick. You know, because the
we
cure.
Got the puke bucket out. We are
That's right.
ready to go.
The cure for all that ails you. Talking about Star Wars.
Oh, tell me about it, Ron. I think actually the cold medicine really helped for tonight's topic.
Yeah. I don't know if it's because I was sick or just because of the topic in general, but I was a little bit confused about what we were going to talk about tonight. I still don't quite have a good handle on it, but
perhaps you're as confused as listeners are right now as to what they're listening
what
to.
What the heck this is?
What is this?
Yeah.
This is the Sick Guy Podcast?
It is. It's the Sick Star Wars Podcast. We are Delusions of Granular. I am Ron.
I am JP.
And we are a podcast that talks about Star Wars. You can follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/SWDog, or follow us on Twitter at SWDog77.
Don't forget to go listen to our old shows at delusionsofgranular.com. That's granular, GRANULAR.
That's right. Or you can give us a call. Call our hotline, leave us a message. If we like what we hear, we will possibly play it on the air. So give us a call, 651-337-9364. That's 651-33-SW-DOG. And, leave us a message. Tell us you like us. Tell us you hate us. Give us recommendations for possible show ideas in the future.
You know what? Don't tell us you hate us right now. Just give us a week or two to
That's
bounce
right,
back.
folks. We're sick. Don't kick a dog when you're down.
This is like the easy listening version of SW Dog. You notice that?
That's right.
The college radio version. Here's a tasty mix from the Cantina Band. What was that big topic we were going to talk about?
Yeah, we were going to. So, folks, we're going to take it back a little. We're going to go back to the Clone Wars.
Oh, where it all started.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. There's plenty of story arcs to talk about in the Clone Wars TV series. Tonight we wanted to tackle a big one. The Mortis Trilogy, as it's known.
Otherwise known as the Force Wielders arc, or
sure.
This was the arc that got me to watch the cartoon show.
Yeah, this is.
I was vehemently anti-cartoon.
Right.
You know?
Well,
like many people might be. Listen
sure.
to this very podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a strange little arc for the series, for Star Wars in general, but. It's a 3-episode arc. I believe it was in the third season.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. That's
Yeah.
right. It's almost smack dab in the middle of the series, Ron.
Yeah.
Now, I wonder what our friend Mike Climo would say about that. If this somehow
Oh, my
adheres to a
goodness.
larger ring theory.
I wonder.
Mike, if you're listening, get to work on that.
Yeah, I don't think Mike watched the Clone Wars.
He devoted
There's
the
a
first
lot
half,
of.
first half of his life he devoted to figuring out the movies. Second
right.
half he can figure out the cartoon
That's
show.
right. Right. Yeah. So this is like a fan favorite, kind of a critic favorite for the series in general. You know, the
Right.
series that ended up going six seasons. But yeah, the Mortis Trilogy was a big one. It's big because it tackles the subject of the Force in a new and peculiar way.
Yeah, it's audacious.
Yeah.
And that's really what got my attention.
Sure. So, like I said, it's 3 episodes, starting with the titles of the episode. First one is called Overlords. Second one is Altar of Mortis. Third one is Ghost of Mortis. And we're not going to we're going to try our best not to do kind of a play-by-play synopsis of this, but we're going to kind of talk about the plot, share our feelings, try to make some sense of this crazy 60-minute arc.
Now, before we get too far into it,
Yeah.
so the way I got into this was 2000. When did this come out? 2011, 2010, somewhere in there.
I think it came out before then, right?
Well,
2000
somewhere around.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll say 2010.
Yeah. Hey, I'm at work, and a buddy of mine IMs me. And he's like, "You watch that cartoon, The Clone Wars?" I'm like, "No, that thing looks stupid. You know, maybe the Tartakovsky one I would watch, but this
Right.
one's gross in 3D." And he's like, "Well, let me just tell you about this. I watched a few, and let me tell you about this story. It's nuts. Basically, Anakin ends up getting abducted by a Borg-looking ship, told what his future is going to be, and finds out that the living embodiment of the Force is there. And it's a trinity of a father, a son, and a daughter. And the daughter represents the good side, and the son represents the bad side. And they show him his future is going to be Darth Vader, and he has to choose to join them or not. And then ultimately gets his mind wiped and returns back."
Sure. So what you're saying is there's Force people.
Yeah.
Force people.
Yes.
Not Jedi.
Who have a
not
ship.
Sith.
Yeah.
These are people that are physical representations of the Force.
They're like super overpowered, crazy on the Force.
Right.
When he told me this, I was like, what was that cartoon? How dare it?
Right.
But I couldn't get it out of my head. You know, I kept being like, that's got to be that's crazy. Like, it's one of those things, like, I sat with it for about a year and a half before I actually watched it. Maybe longer.
Sure.
And, but I remember talking to you early on about it. I was like, did you ever watch that cartoon? And you're like, nah. And I was like, my friend told me. I told you that thing. And you're like, what the hell?
Right.
And then we both started looking at it at work at one day. And, like, that's kind of where the whole germ of this podcast started, I think.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. It's an important subject for the Delusions of Granular podcast, but it's also a big topic because
it's canon.
Yes. I was just going to say, let's remind everybody, folks, this crazy arc, along with the entire Clone Wars series, is deemed canon.
That's right.
By the powers that be.
And so it's not.
So this actually happened.
Yeah, this really happened. So, and now, George Lucas didn't actually write these 3 episodes.
Okay.
But they are from his, like everything he's done since, forever, from his stories.
Right. He was around still when this was being created. He hadn't given Star Wars up to Disney yet. He hadn't let go of control of everything. Although he had finally opened up to letting other writers and come up with story ideas. Ultimately, he was still kind of having a yay or nay vote to what does and doesn't happen.
Right. And Christian Taylor, the writer of these, he is very adamant that people don't realize how involved George Lucas really was with this series.
Sure. Right.
So.
Well, I mean, Lucas early on had a kind of a physical representation of the Force. We talked about this before with the Ashra and the
Bogan.
Boga.
Bognish?
Yeah, the whereas basically there was a planet with two moons, and the moons represented the light side. One moon represented the light side, and the other moon represented the dark side. So this is kind of an idea that Lucas had toyed around with, but now it's come out as, basically people. There's a dark side, the son. There's a light side, the daughter, and then the father is trying to balance the power.
Right. Now, and balance really is the key here.
Sure.
And specifically the fans' understanding of what George Lucas means by balancing the Force.
I don't know if... this is where I start to lose it, because I don't know if I understand what the balance of the Force is. I don't know how it's officially defined by Lucas,
exactly.
how it's defined moving forward. I don't know.
To the best of my knowledge, there is no written down anywhere what it is.
Right.
But I believe, I would say everyone's assumption after the first movies, that is the original trilogy, was that balance would be the defeating of the dark side.
Yes, all light, no dark.
Yes, the light is balance, and the darkness is bringing imbalance to something already perfect, right?
Right, but I believe Lucas was asked about that, and he's like, no, that's not what balance means.
Right, because that flies in the face of this arc.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So, well, let's, should we go ahead and just get into it?
Sure. So, let's just kind of briefly run down how this show comes about. The main characters...
60 minutes?
The main characters are in this particular arc, aside from who we mentioned, the father, son, and daughter. We have Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, and Anakin. And they start out, they're in a shuttle, and they're trying to rendezvous with Rex, the clone Rex, who's on a Star Destroyer, and they're supposed to meet up at this certain coordinates for a rendezvous. Both parties are at the exact coordinates. Neither one of them can see each other.
Right.
So all of a sudden there's, mystery and confusion abound, right? So that's pretty much all we see of Rex again until the very end.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now it's really our main characters, Anakin, Ahsoka, and Obi-Wan. And they are kind of approaching as you said before, a Star Trek Borg type of...
It's like a diamond.
Yeah, it's like a diamond-shaped Death Star in a way.
Hellraiser, Leviathan.
It's not an organic-looking planet. No. It definitely looks mechanical.
Yes.
And they're kind of being pulled into the center of it, which is a bright white light, right? And then they magically wake up, already landed on what now looks like a very organic-looking planet
with crazy laws of physics.
Yeah,
that make no
there's
sense.
it's a jungle type planet, but
rocks,
and seasons are changing rapidly with the time of day.
Yeah.
And immediately, they get out of the ship, Anakin starts hearing voices, right? And the voices, are you the one? Are you the chosen one?
Are you the keymaster?
Yeah.
Are you the gatekeeper?
Follow the money. And they immediately run into, Obi-Wan and Ahsoka don't hear the voice, but they run into the source of this voice that Anakin's hearing. And it's the daughter.
Right? Yes.
The daughter.
Very regal looking.
Regal looking, very, she's got green flowing hair.
Yeah.
Low cut gown. Very, to me, she feels like a character outside, basically from World of Warcraft.
Yeah, your typical kind of fantasy fare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not so much Star Warsy, more fantasy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah. So, and she is, as we learn, she is the embodiment of the light side of the Force.
Yeah. Now, is that ever actually stated?
It's
just kind of implied, right?
Right.
Because she's glowing and light and nice and lovey.
Anakin and Obi-Wan are like she's tells them to follow her.
Yeah.
Right. And Anakin and Obi-Wan are kind of chatting amongst themselves, and they're like, "Do you feel it?" And Anakin is like, yeah, I felt it since we arrived. This
And he's
planet's...
like, tuck it in your waistband.
Yeah. Don't walk so close behind me. Is that a lightsaber in your pocket? But they feel that this planet is very strong in the Force.
Right.
Right. It's a overwhelming sense of force on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So she takes them. Well, she's trying to take them to meet the father.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's where it starts to get vague, because it's like, okay, well, she's the embodiment of the light side. There's an embodiment of the dark side. Who is the father? Like, the father is the one that balances them, I guess.
Right. And yeah, and we're not going to hit, like you said, we're not going to hit every point exactly. We're just going to try to keep a loose structure.
Right.
But
they get separated.
Yeah, the path is obstructed by the brother if you don't see it first.
Right. And Anakin continues to go off with the daughter.
Headstrong.
He touches her, and she's like, "Don't touch me."
Oh yeah, she turns
It's just
real.
weird.
Yeah, she gets real uppity about that.
Yeah, like your light side. Like, you should be easy going with this stuff.
Yeah, like free love, baby. Come on.
Right.
It's like,
All right. Meanwhile,
Mortis.
Obi-Wan and Ahsoka go back to the ship. The ship's gone.
Right.
And this plays into like the as the series goes on, there's a lot of things that it gets confusing because of its redundancy.
Yeah, no, that's the thing.
Like, there's a lot of going back to the ship, and the ship may or may not be there. The ship is broken. The ship is not broken.
Yeah.
Like, it's redundancy and a lot of like things that aren't taking place in the reality of the show.
Right. Yeah. No, I was very excited kind of to do this arc. Like, this is one of those things we've talked about since we started the podcast.
Yeah.
Like, we'll have to cover the Mortis arc.
Yeah.
And I watched this arc a few times already, you know.
Yeah.
And coming back to it, I was like, okay, this will be great. This will go down easy.
Right.
But after we did the fall of Ahsoka, which is like pretty much perfect.
That's pretty, yeah.
Like, going back to this, it was a little more challenging than I remembered.
Yeah, there's some vagueness going on. There's a lot of metaphors and people talking in riddles.
Right.
And there's a lot left to the viewer's interpretation that's not really explained. Yeah.
Now, before we start giving all our reaction, let's get all the characters on the board.
Sure.
And so, once again, we're starting to see the typical things of our characters also. Like, Anakin has ran off, gone forward.
Yes, he's rushing off into the future without really thinking.
Exactly.
Right?
Obi-Wan says something about it.
Yeah, Obi-Wan is being very cautious. Also, seems to be going along with everything very passively.
Totally passively.
Yeah,
it's weird that it's like, I know that Anakin's not a Padawan anymore, but it's like, once in a while, you'd think you'd be like, Anakin.
Yeah.
Like, seriously.
Yeah.
Fucking cow toe here. Come on. Like,
right. And Ahsoka is questioning things. Like, she's the only one that's just like, something's not right here.
This part is, like, so small to get into this, but, like, Obi-Wan actually is, like, says something about him being so headstrong, blah, 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 and, like, if I'm remembering this correctly, and Ahsoka is like, yeah, well, he always gets the job done. Yeah. So she's kind of in this middle zone where she's like, you know, she's not 100% Jedi where she's like, gotta follow the rules. And she's not quite as crazy as Anakin, but she's like, you know, and that kind of plays in later on.
Sure. Yeah. So let's get the big blast reveal, the last main character out of the way here. The son shows up.
That's right.
Anakin is going off to meet the father with the daughter. And
it sounds like a setup of a dirty joke.
It is, right? It is kind of like the farmer's daughter. And, there's all kinds of weird father, daughter, son jokes in this. But the son shows up where Obi-Wan and Ahsoka are, right? And the son is immediately, he's dark. The way he's portrayed, he's the dark side.
No question.
Right?
No question. He's designed evil as hell.
Right.
And he's all shitty, too. He's like, oh, didn't my sister tell you to stay there?
He's kind of he's a dick. He's a dick. Now, the very confusing thing moving forward with Star Wars is the character model for the son is basically the Inquisitor
Yeah.
from Rebels.
Yeah, like
Almost exactly like recycled.
tweaks.
Yeah,
Few
few tweaks, but
yeah.
he's basically the Inquisitor.
Yeah.
Which makes me question, like, well, who is the Inquisitor then?
That's the thing.
Is this a race of people? Because he doesn't look like the daughter.
Or the father, really.
Right? They don't look like they're family related.
And we haven't met the father in the episode yet, but when we do meet him, he looks like Unicron from Transformers.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. He looks like. Wait, actually,
He's very
is Unicron the right guy?
I don't know.
I
don't know
forgot
Transformers.
I think I forgot my Transformers.
Oh my
names.
god.
But he's the. He looks like the older Transformer with the goatee.
He's got a goatee. He's got like a long, kind of like a priestly hat.
Yeah, big priest
You
hat.
know,
Yeah.
he's in flowing robes. He's old, ancient.
Haughty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They all speak with a very modulated voice. Like
Yeah.
they all have, they're not normal people. They may not even be people. So we're
Yeah.
going to make their voices very, ethereal.
Yeah,
Right?
totally.
So that's
like
So we're basically for the rest of this series, this is the 6 characters we're dealing with.
Yep,
Right?
with a few guest stars.
With a few guest stars.
Guest
yeah.
Vision, Fever Dream stars.
So, yeah.
One big one.
Well, yeah. Okay, so there's some visions that happen. Like all of a sudden the characters start having visions.
Right, and
Right?
some of this is the machinations of the sun.
Right.
And some of it's just the nature of being on this funky planet, I guess.
I don't know. Like I question this, and again, like I said, like they don't really explain a lot of this stuff, so it's left to your interpretation.
Yeah.
But Obi-Wan, he runs into Qui-Gon.
Yep.
The Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
Not just Qui-Gon, the Qui-Gon. We have Liam Neeson
in the credits,
reprising his
Liam
role.
Neeson
Neeson is doing the voice of Qui-Gon as a Force ghost or a vision. We don't know. We don't know who he is. Right? They don't really explain it. You know, Obi-Wan is like, "Why am I seeing you?" And Qui-Gon starts talking riddles. I'm here because you're here. Like,
Right.
What the hell's that mean?
Which this is, I had extrapolated on this in
Last episode, yeah.
where I had felt that it was like, well, maybe he's saying that these Force ghosts are really just tied to how powerful a Jedi you are,
Right?
Not so much your own thing,
Right.
But I don't know. Looking back on
I don't
it,
know.
like
I don't know.
I don't know because was he supposed to be a dark? Do you think he was the Sun's machination? I don't think so.
No. The way I interpret this is Obi-Wan sees Qui-Gon. Qui-Gon is a light side vision.
Yeah.
Right? Meanwhile, Anakin wakes up from a fever dream and he sees his mother, Shmi.
Yeah.
Right?
Little
Which
Shmi.
might actually be reprised by the woman that played Shmi Skywalker as well.
Yes.
Maybe.
Yes.
Cornelia August.
Oh, you son of a bitch.
That's
That's
right.
impressive.
I know.
I was
I
going to
pulled
actually
that
make up a name.
I may have. No, I believe that's her name. I don't know if that was her. I didn't look up in the notes to see if that was her playing herself, but it sounds like her. They did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
But I feel like that she was definitely a dark side vision conjured up by the sun.
Yeah, like doesn't she almost
she's
bite Anakin
yeah,
at the
she's
end?
just kind of like telling Anakin nonsense and
Yeah.
telling him bad things and
making him all emotional and
yeah,
shitty. And,
yeah, it's getting all riled up.
Yeah,
right.
Riling him up. Yeah, exactly.
Meanwhile,
she gives him a bunch of lays a bunch of stuff on him about like guilt. And
doesn't
how,
she turn into the sun?
I thought so. Like, because doesn't she lay a whole thing on him about like guilt and it's only you can free yourself from it?
Yeah,
and, like,
more riddles wrapped inside enigmas.
It was kind of a dark side kind of mentality, like where it's like it's not about sacrifice, it's not about paying for what you've done. It's about, hey, you don't have to feel guilty. Just quit feeling guilty.
Right.
Feel however you want to feel.
Yeah.
Feel happy.
Yeah. Be happy.
Yeah.
Be happy.
Be happy. Do whatever you want.
So I envision her being the dark side vision.
Yes, I agree with that.
Right.
She's definitely dark.
Meanwhile, Ahsoka sees a vision as well, and it's herself, but older. Right.
Yeah.
Old, not middle age. probably a young adult version of Ahsoka. I don't
Gotta
know
say,
how.
I
I don't know how that race ages.
I felt like she looked like she was maybe in her 30s, early
Okay.
30s,
All right.
late 20s.
Sure.
But she,
She loses her cuteness.
oh my god, she's got those big tendrils.
Yeah, they get
and they're gross.
Yeah,
they're just gross.
They get long and unwieldy.
Yeah, no.
But
I don't know.
but old Ahsoka tells young Ahsoka, maybe the Jedi way is not for you.
Yeah.
Foreshadowing the future, right?
Ah.
So I envision her vision being kind of the neutral side. You have Anakin being visited by dark side visions. You have Obi-Wan being visited by light side visions, and you have Ahsoka being visited by neutral visions, right? And this is, I read into this because of something that Dave Filoni said about this episode.
Okay.
And he equates this, well, not this episode, this arc.
Yes.
He equates this entire arc to being in the same realm as Luke visiting the cave tree on Dagobah.
Oh, sure.
Okay?
No.
So it's not real, but it's telling a potential future for these characters. Like nothing that's happening in the show, in this arc, this 3 episodes, is real. Okay?
Right. Well, yes and no.
Well,
I mean, the show does give you an out on that.
it does give you yes, but if Dave Filoni, who was strong creator of the Clone Wars series, if he's saying, look, this arc is very much like the cave tree on Dagobah. Yoda says, you bring only what you take with you. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I'm reading into Obi-Wan is very much always the does good Jedi, right?
Right.
So he's seeing good visions of the light side because that's who he is, right?
Sure.
Anakin is seeing troubled visions of his mother, guilt, rage. That's who he is.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. He's bundled of emotions.
They're seeing these visions because that's what they brought with them. Right.
Yeah.
Ahsoka is seeing this
doubt.
Yeah. Kind of this. The Jedi way is not for you because that's what she brings with her.
Right.
Right. So that's why I kind of read into that.
That's good. That's good analysis, Ron.
I don't know if this holds up because they see visions later on.
Yeah.
But we'll get there. But basically, the first episode in this basically is Anakin has to make a choice. The father. The father tells him, look, if you want to get off this planet, you have to take a test.
Yeah.
Right? Tells this to Anakin. And the test is Anakin has to choose between the light side, the daughter, the dark side, the son, who are the daughter and the son, we didn't mention this, but they can also take different forms.
Yeah, we've seen the son take the form of kind of a bat creature.
Yeah, like a bat gargoyle kind of thing. And the daughter takes a form of a griffin.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So they...
Also something that was one that...
also feels very World of Warcraft.
On the first watch I went through this, I was like, Griffins. Is that
yeah.
Star Wars?
Yeah.
Is that like the Star Wars meter go off?
I feel like... Maybe it's because of how I was watching it, but I feel like you never get a good view of these creatures when they're in these forms.
Oh, I think you do.
I feel like the camera moves very quickly when they're in these forms. I never really got a strong view of the son as the gargoyle bat creature.
Right.
And I couldn't tell you exactly, yes, it's a griffin, is the daughter.
Yeah.
But I couldn't tell you, does it have a lion's face? I couldn't really...
Yeah, that is kind of true. In my memory, I can't really remember.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be all the cough syrup. But,
well, yeah.
But I felt like we saw them pretty clearly when they have... basically, so this test is... He's got the son and the daughter in their shape-shifted griffin bat forms.
Into their creatures.
And one is holding Ahsoka.
Yes.
And that's the
son.
The son is holding Ahsoka, and the daughter Griffin is holding Obi-Wan. And basically the threat is he's got to save... He's only going to be able to save one of them. It's the classic Spider-Man scenario.
That's right.
Save one, which do you choose?
Right.
And what what Anakin chooses to do is to use some Force mumbo-jumbo.
That's right.
And makes both the son and the daughter submit.
Yes.
And thus, he passes the test.
And he balances the Force.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
That's basically what the metaphor is that they're trying to say here is Anakin can balance the Force because he can tame these two beasts.
Now, that's the metaphor. Now, on the physical side, he's also just powerful enough to overwhelm them with the Force.
Yes.
Because that's the other thing. All their Force powers are kind of amplified on this Mortis planet.
Right.
Mortis thing planet.
Mortis, yeah.
It's kind of almost like a parallel reality, kind of.
Oh, absolutely.
But, so the father lays out the background of the father, the son, and the daughter.
Mm-hmm.
They used to live among civilization.
Yes.
They have these great fantastical powers. But they're called Force wielders, right? Do they call themselves Force
I believe
wielders?
they are called Force wielders. They're not called Sith, and they're not called Jedi.
No.
This is more ancient than those terms.
Yeah. They kind of scoff at Jedi and Sith term.
Yes.
Yeah, they're like, that's so narrow-minded.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, a cool message to the fans.
Sure.
But, so they used to live amongst people in civilization, but he couldn't control the son and the daughter. We don't really know what happened to the mother.
Yeah, there is no mother.
Yeah, or, hey, midichlorians, you know how
That's
that
right.
works. He woke up pregnant one day. And it's sneaky Force. So ultimately he took his daughter and his son and took him to this Mortis planet he kind of made.
Yeah.
Because they're super powerful.
Right.
And
get them away from reality, because if they were ever let loose on reality, it would be chaos. It would be devastating to the universe.
So if you're a literal-minded person, you can take this story arc as being that it's literally about a family of mutant Force wielders who are super OP, just super overpowered, and living, made their own parallel dimension.
Sure.
So that's out there.
Right.
So anyhow, he passed the test, and Father says, you have to take my place. I'm getting old. Someone has to keep my children in check.
Right.
You should be the new father.
Right.
It's up to you. Stay or go.
And Anakin's says, like, go. I'm out of here.
And so all three of them leave, and it ends on a weird ho-hum, we're going off to our ship. Bye.
That's right. All of a sudden, the ship is magically there again.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't even think they show them getting into the ship. They're just it ends with them flying away.
Yep.
Right?
Bye-bye.
Doesn't really explain how they got back on the ship. Doesn't really explain how the ship magically reappeared where it had previously been gone.
If you're watching this weekly at this point,
and
you're a certain kind of fan, you're just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, or I mean, if you're watching it weekly, maybe these details don't even matter. But if you're watching it back to back like we did, multiple times trying to understand what the hell's going on, it's almost like there's gaps in the plot.
Well, isn't there?
But it's kind of on purpose to kind of throw people off of what's really going on.
I feel like there's a name for that, like a puzzle or something, where the harder you look at it, the less visible it is, or something.
Sure.
Yeah, because that's how it kind of feels. The harder I try to dissect it and figure it out, the less it holds together. And that reminds me of another show, Ron.
What's that?
Do you remember the show that swept the nation?
Oh, no. You're going to bring up Lobo.
Sheriff Lobo.
No. I know what you're talking about.
No, it's another four-letter word starts with that.
Lost. Yeah.
Yeah. So earmark that, because that'll come up again.
All right. We're not going to get into that yet?
Well, you know what? Why not? The writer is actually a former writer for Lost and 6 Feet Under.
Interesting. Yes. So, yeah, there's some lost parallels.
There's some Lost-isms.
Yeah, there's some things going on that feel like it's from Lost, which could be very infuriating to viewers.
Depends on what your relationship to Lost is.
Yeah, it could. A lot of lot of questions are brought up that aren't always answered clearly.
Yeah, and I mean, it's kind of cool because the guy does the best and the worst of what Lost does.
Yeah, yeah.
But, like, it's kind of perfect if you're, like, a jobber coming in. Like, they're like, we need some of the hocus pocus. Sparkle
right.
some magic.
Yeah.
You know, he's like,
Yeah.
drops the smoke bomb and out, bounces.
Right.
But, anyhow.
Well,
go ahead.
that brings up a question in my mind.
Right.
And we were touching on it a little bit earlier. Like, this was a weekly show. You know, there was if you were watching this when it was originally released, you had to wait a whole week in between episodes to see, you know, the next part, right?
Right.
Like, two things.
Okay.
I feel like watching it back to back, the 3 episodes back to back to back, brings a better understanding of what's going on.
I see what you're saying. Yes.
Like if you're waiting a whole, 7 days in between episodes, you're going to be like, well, there's a little recap at the beginning of the episode.
You need a little bit of a tag at the end and a recap at the beginning.
Yeah, and there is, but they kind of gloss over, they touch on the big important events, but they don't really touch on the details of what's, the underlying details that's going on in this episode.
But I think that accounts for the redundancy we're talking about, because what they're doing mostly with that stuff is they're tagging where you are, like location wise.
Right.
Like, we're on the ship, ended at the
Sure.
ship, back at the ship.
Okay,
Back at the place.
My other question is, like, who was this written for?
I think it was...
Like, this was on Cartoon Network.
Yep.
Right? Like, technically it's a kid show.
I'll tell you exactly who it was written for. You and me.
Yeah.
It was written because I think that the show was kind of not getting... The hardcore fans and people weren't really investing in it as much.
They weren't taking it seriously
and
because it's a cartoon.
It needed something to get some talk going.
Yeah.
And because I think the big criticism of the show in general was, well, what stories can they tell?
Sure.
They're covering such a small area of time. It's in between episode 2 and 3.
Right.
Right. And so George Lucas...
And this is also, like, episodes 2 and 3 had already been out. So it's not like... not like this came out and we hadn't seen Revenge of the Sith yet, so anything goes.
Yeah.
Like, we've already seen where this all ends up.
The writer of this episode, actually...
In a way, this is a prequel to Revenge of the Sith.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And we all know that prequels... The problem with prequels is... there's no real drama because we all know what happens.
Yeah. And that's one of the things the writer talked about in an interview I read for prep for the show. He said that the show itself is structured in such a way that, like, certain things can't happen. Like, you can't really have Anakin fight Dooku.
Right.
You can't really, because...
Right.
So he's like, but that is why George let him go in these emotional places and have these very deep emotional arcs, because that's kind of the place you can go.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting that you bring that up, because we are still experiencing this in 2015. Let me just sidetrack us for a moment.
Oh, I'm
a little comic book corner for a second.
Right? Ron's crazy comic corner.
I read Star Wars #2 in the comic book series that's out. The new in-canon comic book series by the creators.
Jason Aaron?
Jason Aaron? No. Jason Aaron. Jason Aaron.
Yep.
And
the guy who did Planetary, John Cassidy.
John Cassidy. Yes, that's the name I was thinking of. So
this is #2 now?
#2, and it takes place between A New Hope and Empire, right?
Okay.
Issue 1 ended with a possible confrontation between Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader, and it ends with a kind of a cliffhanger, as comic books do.
Yeah.
With Luke kind of standing before and Darth Vader's kind of walking towards him, right? And Obi-Wan is telling Luke in a Force voice, "Run," right? So I was very curious to see how issue 2 would pick up on this. Would Luke just run and there would be no confrontation between Vader and Luke? Because how could there be? Because like when we first see Vader and Luke have a confrontation, it's what we feel is the first time is an Empire.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Well,
and anything else is going to kind of
they're rewriting canon because they did have a confrontation.
Really?
And Luke lost. Like Vader actually like takes Luke's lightsaber, and at this point my mind is breaking because it's like, okay, Vader is now holding his lightsaber.
Whoa.
And it's like, is he going to recognize that it's his lightsaber? And if he does, like, what does that mean for moving forward?
Yeah.
Like,
does he notice?
Yeah, he does.
Wow.
So
Spoilers.
he's starting, like, that's leading him to realize that, oh, the kid that blew up the Death Star,
it's my boy.
It's my boy, right?
Yeah.
Because of this confrontation. So it's funny that they're like throwing in things that are a little what seem like taboo for continuity freaks.
Yeah.
But I feel they're walking a fine line, right? They're really walking on the knife's edge of what works and what doesn't work. And for me personally, I feel like they haven't fallen off the edge into, no, this does not work.
And you're talking about the comic here.
I'm talking about the comic.
Because you could very
But
well
how
be
it
talking
relates-
about the Clone Wars.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. So let's bring it back to the Clone Wars because, episode 2, a couple big things happen. Ahsoka gets captured by the Sun.
Episode 2, Altar of Mortis.
Altar of Mortis.
First episode is called Overlords. By the way.
Right. Ahsoka gets captured by the Sun, and she's turned to the dark side.
Yes.
Right? I mean, you can tell she's turned to the dark side because her eyes get freaky,
and she gets
like dry, crackly skin. It's like, dark. The dark side people, they just don't know what moisturizer is.
Yeah, moisturizer, posture, it's like, you can be evil and still have good skin.
Right.
Right.
That would probably even make you a better evil person because you'd be like, oh, they don't look evil.
Yeah, you'd be so vain, too, theoretically.
Right.
It's all about you.
Right.
Takes care of you.
Right.
That's my thought.
Another big thing that happens in the second episode, the father or the daughter, they lead Obi-Wan to get a sword.
The daughter does.
The daughter leads Obi-Wan to get a sword that can stop the sun.
Yeah. Basically, they're like, the sun is out of line. We got to put him down.
Got to put him down, right?
So they have to go get the only weapon that they have that can put him down.
And it's a lightsaber.
No?
How can it not be a lightsaber?
It kind of is.
It's like a stone.
It's like a super sword.
Yeah, it's like in this altar, hence the title of the episode.
Yep, it's floating inside this altar.
All right, Obi-Wan grabs it out of this altar. It has kind of a spiral type of
hilt. Yes.
And it magically, he grabs it. It's just a hilt in this altar. He grabs it, and the stone type of blade, erection appears out of the hilt.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, this can, stop the sun.
Right.
Right.
It's getting very heavy.
Yeah, I'm like, okay. So there's a big confrontation.
That was the hardest part for me in this whole arc.
The stone.
Because
I'm
following it either way you want to take it. If you want to go literal and say this is a freak mutant story,
okay,
I'm following.
It's funny because I never thought of it that way.
But if you want to say it's a metaphor,
I always thought of it as a metaphor. I never thought of it as these are real, just alien characters, creatures.
I originally thought of it as a metaphor too, and I was looking at that whole aspect of it. Well, we'll talk about that at the end.
All right.
But we'll come back to that for sure. So I'm following it if it's literal. I'm following it if it's metaphorical, and it's about these characters, and like these new overlords are just kind of extrapolations of themselves.
Yes.
I'm fine with that. But when you throw the sword into it, I'm like, wait. What's the sword?
Yeah,
What's the sword mean?
So one of the things we did gloss over is
either way, because even it's literal.
So this sword, I always considered it this kind of magic stone sword. It looks to me like stone.
Okay.
Right, and I guess I rationalize the existence of the stone because prior to the stone swords showing up, we have seen that the father, son, and daughter lightsabers have no real effect on them. They're able to touch the blade. They're able to turn off the blades.
Yeah.
They can, they're just like, these are stupid weapons. They don't have any effect on us.
Yeah.
Right?
You're dumb babies.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, well then, their weapon is the super mystical sword, right? That's what can stop them, not a puny little lightsaber.
Oh yeah, I totally get that idea. They'd have like a super sword.
Right.
They're super people. They have a super sword.
Right. Only that backfires in later on, but we'll get to that.
It's one of those things, if this was an anime, like then the Jedi characters could start getting these super swords.
Oh sure.
And you could level up more.
Right.
But.
Right. So Ahsoka's the turn to the dark side. She's like semi-unconscious, dead, and the father and the son are fighting, and the son wants to kill the father because the father's holding him back. Typical father-son relationship.
Yeah, it seems like there's kind of implied that like since that these are the first visitors they've had in a millennia or whatever.
Yeah.
And they called Anakin there because he's the chosen one.
He's the chosen one, yeah.
Because they also subscribe to the same prophecy.
Yes.
That
yes.
He's the chosen one to bring balance to the Force.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So the father and the son are fighting. The son has the sword. He goes to kill the father.
Yep.
The daughter steps in, right? The son accidentally kills her instead with the magical stone sword.
Ah, how Shakespearean.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? So she's lying there. She's, close to death. Anakin is, freaking out. Obi-Wan's really not. He's like just going along with it.
Yeah, Obi-Wan once again is like, I don't really have any strong emotional connections to anyone
he's
here.
like sitting in the back eating some popcorn.
I wonder what Sabine's doing.
Why didn't I ever make a move on Padme?
Yeah. Yeah. Why didn't I make a move on water?
I should call up Dex. So Anakin is distraught because Ahsoka is dead, dying, dark side, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Right? And the daughter is like, I can save her.
Yeah,
Take my life force, put it into her. I'll sacrifice myself for Ahsoka.
Ding ding ding. Self-sacrifice.
Self-sacrifice, yes.
Yeah.
Not entirely sure why she does this, other than Ahsoka's a main character.
Yeah,
and
she got that sweet plot armor. You can't hurt her.
I mean, Ahsoka's not really key to any of this, right?
In fact, she's the one character we know who's going to have to be dealt with.
Right.
Because she's not in the third movie.
Right. I mean, this could have been an easy out for her.
Yeah.
She died in the Mortis Trilogy.
I mean, since they introduced her, everyone's been waiting, how's she going to go?
Right. But the daughter's like, no, I'll sacrifice myself for her.
Because I've had a horrible existence living with my father and brother for my whole life.
And it'll make Anakin happy, and Anakin will, I don't know what her real motivations are for saving Ahsoka, other than, it'll make the chosen one happy.
And if it makes the chosen one happy, so what? Because now the situation is Ahsoka and Obi-Wan are going to go back on their ship, right? And he's going to, if everything works out according to the plan, and then him and the father are going to hang out, keeping the brother down?
Well, so what happens is the daughter, Obi-Wan or Anakin is able to transfer the life force from the daughter into Ahsoka. Ahsoka wakes up and is like, I don't remember a thing. How convenient.
Yeah.
I don't remember turning to the dark side. How convenient is that? We'll never have to address this ever again. Right?
How clean.
And the episode wraps up with, they're back at the ship. They're back at the ship, which crash landed this time on Mortis.
Right.
Right? It's all in disrepair. It's completely, totaled.
Yeah.
Right? And the next episode starts with we need to repair the ship. And all of a sudden Ahsoka's like, a mechanic.
Right, that is kind of a new element to her.
Yeah.
But,
which I don't
I'm
mind.
totally into it, actually.
I don't mind. She's
By the
got
end of her
she's got
arc,
the cute
right?
goggles on.
Yeah, I love that little outfit.
I like the fact that, like, it seems like Anakin and Obi-Wan don't know anything about anything mechanical.
Which makes sense for Obi-Wan. He's a big, very, very big priss. But Anakin's supposed to be
he built 3PO. You'd think he'd know how to,
I mean, and not for nothing, 3PO, I know he falls apart all the time, but I mean, goddamn, guys lasted.
That's right.
Long time.
Well, I mean, I guess we don't really know if Anakin is not, able to fix the ship because he's distracted. He needs to go back and meet the father.
Yeah, he bones out. Like, it's weird because he's like, okay, guys, well, I'm glad everything worked out. I have to go talk to the father. I can't leave this undone.
Right. And Obi-Wan is like, no, you shouldn't do that. But I'm not going to stop you.
Yeah.
Very passive again.
Yeah.
Very
really
passive.
just never had a hold on that boy.
No.
Never.
Yeah. So, Anakin goes and talks to the father, and the father is... this is where it really...
This is episode 3, Ghosts of Mortis.
Ghosts of Mortis, yeah. And this is, like...
The House of Mortis.
The father is like, the son needs to be stopped. I'm distraught. I didn't take any action. He killed the daughter. There's no balance in the Force. And Anakin is like, I need to go destroy the son.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And the father's like, yeah, maybe. Do what you think is right.
He was all kind of like whiny about it. He was like as in my memory at least, was that he was just kind of laissez-faire, like, yes, you must destroy him.
Go here. Go
if you'll find him in the pit of despair.
No, the well of the dark side.
That's right.
So Anakin starts walking off. Who does he run into? Qui-Gon.
No.
Qui-Gon will have all the answers. Qui-Gon's, even though he's a Force ghost, he knows what's going on.
Now, this is a good point to stop, though, and say, I do actually kind of like this whole arc. And it sounds so silly. Anytime I knew if once we started going through these plot points, it was going to really reduce the arc.
Yes.
To silliness.
Again, a lot of what we're talking about, like, we're reading into it, which is what's so great about the episode is it lends to you bringing your own interpretation of what's going on here.
Exactly. That's the gift of Mortis.
We're interpreting it to poke fun at it, we're trying to take it seriously, and it can be taken seriously.
Yeah.
But we're also kind of pointing out some of the more ridiculous things that go on in the episode.
Well, I think we're still kind of trying to process it also.
Sure.
Sure. Like, we both, like, with me being sick, so we had to pause recording for a little bit. We've had a little extra time to sit with these episodes, and we're still kind of...
Still, yeah. It was like, I went into this, when we came up with the idea that we have to do an episode about the Mortis Trilogy, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
We'll have Delusions of Granular definitive take on this arc, because that's what our listeners want to hear from us.
Yeah.
Right? I don't have one.
I was prepared to lay it all out for them. This is how it goes.
I don't have a definitive idea of what really happens in this arc.
So I just want to emphasize.
And I've watched it, I think in the last week, I've watched it back to back like 3 times.
Oh, wow.
And I'm just like, wait, who dies? There's a lot of death going on.
Right. And so,
who's turning to the dark side?
Here at the 52-minute mark, I just want to point out that it's clearly worth watching.
Yes.
Because at this point, you could have almost watched the entire arc. So I recommend...
Yeah, right.
I recommend stopping and going and watching it before we get to the end.
Yeah.
But, because I think... Because like I said, it warrants discussion.
It does warrant discussion, yes.
Any serious Star Wars fan should at least give it a view.
Right. So, all right. So,
okay.
Let's continue on.
He encounters Obi-Wan on his way to the Well of Despair.
Qui-Gon.
Yes.
Right, Qui-Gon. Liam Neeson makes another voice appearance in the Clone Wars. Yeah. He's just cashing those paychecks. On the set of Taken, he's doing a voiceover for Qui-Gon.
It's actually a sad story.
What?
Like, he works obsessively because his wife died. Yeah.
Way to bring it down.
Yeah,
really?
Sorry. Yeah, a few years ago, his wife slipped in a pool, broke her neck, and
I had no idea.
After that, ever since then, he's worked nonstop.
Really?
Yeah. Like,
Wow.
like I read an interview with him in Esquire a while ago, probably 2 or 3 years ago now, and he was talking about it. And he's like, "Yeah, I don't like to be home, just work."
Fascinating.
Yeah.
He comes up again in a future episode as Liam Neeson that I want to talk about.
Okay.
I've already done research for the next episode.
Yes.
That sheds a whole different.
Doesn't that make it weirder when he does funny things?
Yeah, we'll get to that. I believe next week we're going to do another episode. We're going to do an actor profile, not Liam Neeson.
So look forward to more Liam Neeson talk next week.
More Liam Neeson talk, yeah.
But,
Weird Liam Neeson talk. Okay, well, I won't make fun of poor Liam Neeson cashing checks, but I will make fun of Qui-Gon because Qui-Gon also speaks in riddles and never gives Anakin a straight fucking answer.
Yeah, I mean, of all the
Anakin is clearly like, what should I do? Should I go and kill the son?
I'm asking you because you've pierced the veil of existence, and I think you might have some insight.
Yeah, like I looked up to you when you were alive. I'm going to continue looking up to you because you're showing up and talking to me.
Yeah, you're performing a feat no one can do.
Right.
This is amazing.
Right. And
if I don't ask you for advice, who should I ask?
Right. Passive Obi-Wan, he's not doing anything over there.
No.
Right? So...
Yeah. It's
So Qui-Gon is like, you must do what you feel is best. Use your instincts. Trust your training.
Yeah, and it's like,
Like,
is this a recording?
What?
Is this a forced recording?
Yeah. Like, that's what they teach you. To say these words.
He does give him some, if I'm remembering it right, he does give some, because by the third episode, the NyQuil was really kicking in, and I was like, he does give him some, like, what I saw in you as a young boy. Like,
yeah.
He gives him some, he gives him a little sentimental
ties
stuff.
It back
which,
ties it back to Phantom a little bit.
For some reason, I always love the Phantom nods. It's like, nice. Yeah. Well, I guess Qui-Gon himself is a Phantom nod.
That's right.
Huh. So
what we're saying, folks, is if you're going to watch the Mortis Trilogy, turn this off right now. Do some NyQuil.
Oh, yeah. Definitely Robo-Trip.
And throw on Netflix. Like I said, it's in the middle of season 3.
Yeah. Put on a 43 RPM record at 33.
Maybe some.
Slow it down.
Just chug some Robitussin. You'll be good. You'll be able to understand this arc just as well as we did.
Play this episode backwards, slowed down. Yep.
So Anakin goes to the well of the dark side.
Right.
Right.
Finally got there.
Lava pit.
So he basically searches his heart and is like, well, I guess I should kill this guy.
Yeah, no one else give me a straight answer, so I guess I'll just go and kill him.
Right.
Right. So he goes to the well of the dark side, which is a lava pit. Very similar to Mustafar.
Very similar to Mustafar.
Lava, and who's down in the well of the dark side? The Inquisitor. I mean, the sun.
Right.
The sun. The sun is down there, right? Mm-hmm. And he's like, hey, I'm glad you showed up. I was waiting for you, right? And starts talking some Palpatine shit.
Yeah.
Hey, if you want peace, I'll show you the way. We can put an end to the Clone Wars. We can end all this. What do you want? You want peace? Follow me. We can do this.
Because once again, this is a good point where the Clone Wars did a great job of showing how unhinged Anakin was becoming because of the weight of war.
Yeah.
You know? And
Anakin doesn't like war.
Well, hell, man. War is hell.
Right. Also, an interesting point.
Yeah.
The characters, the show is known as the Clone Wars. Wars.
Sure.
Right? The characters always refer to it as the Clone War.
Yeah.
They don't ever think that it's more than one war.
Yeah.
Even in Phantom, at the end, Yoda's begun the Clone War has.
It's true, and
which is interesting. I mean,
I guess it's just because of
it's
Star
happening,
Wars,
right? While it's happening,
multiple conflicts.
It's not like they called World War One when it was happening. It was the Great War.
Sure. Yeah, and there was. I mean,
they weren't planning a sequel.
Hope, does he say Clone War or is it Clone Wars?
I think he says the Clone Wars.
Okay.
I think then it was the history books came out and it's like, oh, there was more than one.
Oh, we're supposed to call it this.
It's the wars now.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway.
So he's giving him this whole rap about what we can do, this and that, and Annie's coming down on him with some Jedi shit, And he's like, oh, you think you're good?
Yeah. Let me show you something.
Boom. And this is the moment.
Yeah. This is the big moment.
Yeah.
This is the moment.
Anakin gets flooded with visions.
Almost
of his future.
rewrites history that can't be rewritten.
Yeah.
Because the son gives Anakin a vision of his future.
What's going to happen?
And that shows him fighting with Obi-Wan, killing younglings.
Yeah, straight up shows younglings cowering.
Yeah. Choking Padme.
Yep.
And we get a glimpse of Darth Vader helmet.
As he goes down on his knees, collapsing from the weight of what he's going to do in his future. So,
like, how can this happen? Like, Anakin, in Revenge of the Sith, he was not aware of any of this. But now, like, they're showing that the character was made aware of this stuff.
Now, and think about this. If you're a child watching this, you've been watching this for 3 seasons now.
Yeah.
You started in 3rd grade, now you're in 6th grade.
Yeah.
Find out your favorite character is bad. Well, I guess you probably already knew. But I mean, he's presented
generations to come.
Yeah. He's presented as a pretty good guy throughout the whole cartoon, though. Like, I'm always on Anakin's side in this show.
Sure. Oh, yeah. So, he wakes up from this vision.
What can I do? How do I stop it?
He's dark. He has the dark side eyes. He's got darkness under his eyes. We know he's turned to the dark side.
Well, he hasn't turned right away. First, he does a whole thing, right? He doesn't give a whole
thing I
about,
think
how do I stop it?
How do I stop it?
And easy, you join me. And he's like, boom, flip the switch. All I need was someone to open the door. Thank you.
Yeah.
Time to go dark.
Yeah. Eyes go dark.
Yeah.
Darkness under the eyes. That's how you know you've turned dark.
Oh, yeah.
Again, poor hygiene.
Yes.
Poor, clean your face a little bit. Put some, do some eye drops. Get the red out of your eyes.
Yeah.
You'll be fine.
Sit up straight.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, the father shows up.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan shows up, right? His little, scooter bike.
Oh, yeah. I forgot, yeah.
They have these little fold-up scooter bikes.
They're great.
That are like speeder bikes, except a little bit smaller. Like, Anakin kicks his into the lava immediately.
Yeah.
Right? Obi-Wan gets zapped by, force lightning by the sun.
Yeah.
Once again, does nothing.
And it's
just
typical,
lies there.
I think isn't there a typical back and forth, too, of like, Anakin, you have to resist him. It's like, this is the only way.
Yeah. So the father shows up and is like,
you're a part of me, son. And since you're a part
of... Well, no, wait. If the father says to Anakin, he's like, oh, my son showed you stuff you shouldn't have seen.
Oh, that was bad.
Right? Sorry. You shouldn't have seen that. Let me just tap you on the forehead here.
Yep.
So you're not going to remember any of that. And you'll be fine.
Right?
So that's...
mind wiped.
You turn to the dark side. All you need is the father to come along, tap you on the forehead. All your sins are forgiven.
Yeah, but that does bring up an interesting point, Ron. Is it all in your head? Because there's always this thing about...
this whole arc is all in their head.
We talked about this before on our episode, WTF is the Force.
Yeah, right.
Does the Force lie in your heart or in your head?
Right.
Because a lot of times early on, like Jedi stuff is referred to as like mind tricks, like
Jedi
telekinesis,
yeah.
That kind of stuff.
Right.
Where it's more of a science fiction-y type thing. But I feel like over the years it's gotten more soulful.
Sure.
It's become more of like you feel it, a spiritual thing.
Right.
Right. And so this kind of leans more towards that whole like, hey, it's all in your head.
All
if
in
you
your
think
head.
you're bad, you're bad.
Yeah.
If you think you're good, you're good.
Right.
Right.
So the father just kind of taps his forehead in Anakin's back.
And then
he forgets everything. Yep. Never saw any of this. Never, At
this point, he has maybe 3 minutes left in the episode, so we got to get an ending.
Got to wrap it up. Yeah. So the father is like, he's confronting the son. He's like, look, I can't go on if you're around. So the father takes the magic stone sword, kills himself, commits hara-kiri.
Yep.
Right? And the son is like, no, I can't live without you. And all of a sudden, Anakin shows up behind the son and stabs him with a lightsaber.
Shink.
all of a sudden those lightsabers have an effect on these guys.
Well,
they didn't before, now they do.
Yeah.
Stab them in the back, fine. If you touch their hands, they can touch the blade, no problem. Stab them in the back.
And let's think about that here too. Couple options about that.
Yeah.
Number one, there was no son and there was no daughter.
Sure.
They were projections of this super powerful mutant being, the father.
Sure.
Alternately,
Yep.
they were his son and daughter, but he was the only one with the power, and he was channeling it to them to keep him alive forever.
Okay.
Because he's a father.
Sure.
And so after he dies, their power, and then
Well, there is talk about, like, so the daughter is the first one to die.
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
The daughter dying throws off the balance. Right? Now the dark side has got more, weight. There's no light side to balance the dark.
Yeah.
Right? So, in order to balance the Force, you have to kill the sun now, right?
Yeah.
And also the fulcrum has to die too as well, so the father dies, right?
Sure.
So, like, Anakin does bring balance to the Force by killing the son because it was off balance. The daughter was already dead.
Okay.
Yeah. Anakin does bring balance to the Force in this arc.
Okay.
Fair
enough.
And again, I'm talking about what's going on, but I'm also talking in metaphors because this whole arc is a metaphor for
something.
For something that happens in Star Wars.
Let's get into that right after we just wrap this up. So after that, all three of them, Obi-Wan,
Ahsoka,
Anakin, and Ahsoka,
yeah.
they all wake up on the ship.
They all wake up in the ship. Like, they don't show them going to the ship. They just, like, all of a sudden it's almost like they woke up, they dreamt it all.
Yep.
Right? They wake up, they're in space, they're in the ship, Rex is communicating with them.
Yeah.
Hey,
we lost you there for about 20 seconds.
Right. And they're like, we've been gone for like a good 52 minutes.
It's funny.
Plus commercial breaks.
I was also thinking about that repetition thing we were talking about how we got confused because they're always going back to the ship, coming back from the ship, going to the ship, coming back from the ship.
Maybe they never left the ship.
Is it also kind of implied that, like, they might have been there for a really long time?
Yeah.
Like,
I think that's what's implied in this scene is, like, you were gone for 20 seconds. And we're like, no, we were gone for a lot longer than that, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like that UK TV show The Prisoner type thing.
Okay.
Like, where it's like every episode he wakes up in this village.
Sure.
So you never know how long is in between episodes.
Right.
So, yeah, they could have been there for a long time.
Yeah.
Soul searching.
Yeah, so, I mean, the question is, was this real?
Right.
Did any of this really happen?
Yeah.
Was it all in their heads? Did they leave did they ever leave the ship? Did they ever actually meet these people? Mm-hmm. Like, was it all just a dream? Whose dream was it? Like,
who is the dreamer?
Yeah, questions that are never answered. They are just like, that happened. We kind of don't remember it. Fades away.
Yeah, it feels like a very kind of like a trippy song, like the father,
like
son,
I'm criticizing
and the
it because, like, of course, this takes place again between two established storylines. So of course, none of it really matters.
Mm-hmm.
But it told a storyline. It explored a new facet of how we think about the Force,
right?
Which is a nice exercise to go through, and it's a metaphor. I don't know how strong of a metaphor it is or what that metaphor is for, but it's a story. They told it. It's a new way of thinking about things, I guess. So,
yes, we are all the better for it.
I guess.
And that concludes our podcast for this evening.
and forever. Done. We told the Mortis Trilogy, now we're done.
Yes.
No.
We have to think about some things. No.
I need to rethink my life.
Well, I think, to be fair, I think this arc suffers from lack of context now.
Sure.
At the time, We didn't know there was new movies coming. The Disney thing hadn't happened. I think, as I described to you earlier, if the bright shining center of the Star Wars universe is the 70s Star Wars mania,
Okay.
then in 2010, 2009, that era, we were at the point farthest from. You know what I mean?
Interesting. We were further away from real than we were like in the 1990s.
I think so. I mean, there was that whole dead period. I mean,
Yeah.
this is a point where the merchandising's still alive.
Right. This isn't dead. This is. I mean,
But it wasn't dead then either. Here's the thing. At this point, it's just irrelevant.
well, we're really bringing our biases into this.
Yes.
Like you're right. Like to us, like the 90s, early 90s, or late 80s, early 90s, that was the dead period. But like people were still. I mean, to me, that's like when that's the lowest point, right? Like there was no real new merchandise. There wasn't any new stories until the Thrawn trilogy came out and Dark Empire in 1991,
right?
And boom, that started to kick things off, right? Like you said this is like 2009, 2010.
Somewhere
right?
in there, yeah. I
Somewhere
should look that
around
up before we
there,
finish
right?
this episode.
And that this is far away from the bright center of Star Wars as you can get, and it's because we weren't watching it like when it was happening, right? We weren't into Star Wars when it was happening. We were so far away from Star Wars because we were still bitter fans about the prequels and what Star Wars had become,
right?
A cartoon. But I mean that's just our point of view as fans of
that's true.
Who we are.
We shouldn't assume that our experience is universal in that way.
Right.
Yes.
Right. But
yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of listeners out there that's like, you jack offs. That was a great time.
Right. But I mean, you're right. I don't think that this arc was created thinking that there was going to be continued stories beyond this, right?
Yeah.
I don't think that this was really... I think they were... I mean, at this point, like, wasn't a lot of this stuff just really considered more EU?
Well, that's the thing. This is that weird period where they straddle the line, right?
Yeah.
Where they start straddling the line between what's EU and what's canon. And, this ends up dragging parts of the EU into canon with it.
It does drag parts of EU into it. It also, like...
So actually, Ron, this aired in 2011.
Oh, interesting.
February 11th, 2011.
Like, there's other story arcs that we have not discussed in great detail. We have definitely not done shows about of the Clone Wars.
Yes.
That are very EU.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Very, like, I can't believe that this got pulled into being canon, But, it's not like the powers that be are picking and choosing this episode is canon, this episode isn't canon.
Right.
Like, they're just, like, waving their wand and being like, all of the Clone Wars series is canon. Deal with it. Yeah. Right? Whether it really makes sense, like, can you hold this episode up against, the movies and what, like, is this really a good comparison to the cave tree on Dagobah?
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot more going on in this episode than just the cave tree. The cave tree was very vague and very, metaphorical.
And it was also like a minute.
Right.
Yeah.
This is like 60 minutes.
Yeah. With regards to what you said earlier about there was no plans for new movies, well, apparently we're less than a year out from the Disney acquisition when this aired.
Right.
So clearly that was in the works. The writer said that when he was talking with Lucas, he'd heard from Lucas and other people that there was no third trilogy planned.
Okay.
Lucas has since then said that, in fact, he was considering making the first one.
Make episode 7.
Yeah. So,
once again, Lucas,
a lot of secrecy. Now, pulling from that same interview, the writer Christian Taylor, he said
Yes.
he also said that in the writers' camp for the their little summit that George Lucas described, and I think I've said this on the show before, he described Star Wars as the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Okay.
And he's the Father, and the Son is all the licensed pieces and parts, like the toys, etc., video games.
Sure.
And then the Holy Spirit is the fans and what they expect and what they bring to it.
Interesting.
So,
Interesting.
yeah. Also, just realized that George Lucas also has a son, right? And a couple
he has
daughters.
a new son. The son is like their latest child.
Oh, right, yes.
Everett.
Right, and that one is accounted for. We know that there was a surrogate or something for that one.
Yeah.
So I was just about to say, there was no mother for the other ones.
No. Yeah, there's
So
no...
a little bit of a...
We don't know
Maybe
where...
that's the allegory, Ron.
Yeah, Lucas. I don't know what to make of him.
Yeah.
Like...
That's a big mystery for me.
Yeah.
Whenever you start looking at that part. But,
before we get too far away from the episode...
Yes.
I did catch a quick glimpse while they're on Mortis. We see in the sky 2 moons.
Oh, okay.
2 moons. I wonder if that's the
Astra and the Boga?
All right, yeah.
Wow.
There are 2 moons on Mortis.
Nice.
And we don't even know if Mortis is a planet.
Yeah, well,
You
clearly it's something totally off the charts.
Well, like...
It's big space gate.
Right, but, like, wherever they end up, like, they go into this, like, space gate, pyramid, diamond-shaped thing.
Uh-huh.
Right, that clearly looks like it has, like, no atmosphere, it has no surface, right? And they go inside of it, essentially. They go into the light, right? And they wake up, and it's like there's atmosphere, there's a sky, there's...
It's funky, yeah.
Yeah, like we don't know where they end up. Like, it's so vague. Like, they go into this thing and end up somewhere that doesn't really correlate to what they were going into.
So I've read metaphor things that the way it's supposed to work is the daughter is Ahsoka,
Okay.
the good side,
All right.
right? And the son is... Wait, how that doesn't work? No.
Daughter's not Ahsoka.
Okay, all right, back it up. The daughter is Obi-Wan.
Okay.
And the father is... No.
No.
No,
It doesn't...
Nothing lines up like that.
Nothing lines up like that. No. Nothing lines up
Because
like
you read that article, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because my thing with all that stuff is like, even if that's true, even if it's like, okay, all these are just in metaphor, allegory for these characters and their problems and hang-ups.
Yep.
It comes down to being like, and? Oh, okay.
Right.
Right. So what?
Right.
I'm seeing that like played out every episode.
Well, okay. Like...
The key here is, I think, getting some insight into the Force, the nature of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I'm trying to figure out a way to kind of wrap up my thoughts on this, and I'm struggling because I really don't know what my thoughts are on this.
Mm-hmm.
Other than, like, this is watching this arc was a new way to think about the Force.
Yeah.
Right? And it brings up the same ideas. Anakin is the chosen one. You need to find balance. He will bring balance to the Force, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yet, those 2 concepts are still not really defined.
Yeah, we still don't know what balance looks like.
We don't know what the chosen one is. Is Anakin the chosen one? Was that ever really clearly defined?
And where the hell does this shit come from?
Yeah, like, who said that he's the chosen one?
And why do we need a chosen one? It seemed like things were working.
Right. And what is balance? What is balance? Like,
yeah.
That's
an existential question.
To me, like, what I gather from the end of these 3 episodes, balance is doing away with the dark side, doing away with the light side and doing away with the fulcrum that balances them. Like, get rid of all Jedi and Sith. That's the only way to balance. Like, wipe out, no more crazy magic stuff. Like, no more. That's all, all problems.
And, yeah, and I think maybe less get rid of all the crazy magic stuff, more get rid of the dogma.
Yes, the dogma is the problem.
Yeah. Get rid of this, strict religious type of thing, right?
Right.
Well, religion. I don't want to go there.
No, but there's definitely
these institutions.
Yes.
Get rid of these institutions.
Yes.
They serve to do nothing but put people in power.
I believe there was a line where maybe Obi-Wan said this in this arc, but or maybe it was Qui-Gon said that the light side is selfless and the dark side is selfish.
Yes.
Right? So that defines them. But, why can't you be a little bit of both?
Well, that'd be balance, right?
Right.
Or would it?
The whole problem with this is, you have certain people that are so selfless, right, to a fault.
Yeah.
And you have people that are so selfish to a fault, right?
What I find when I look at any of this stuff too close, though, is one would turn into the other. You know what I mean? The Jedi, Yoda.
Yeah.
100% selfless.
Yes.
But, to a point where it's almost selfish because,
yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Because he's so focused on himself in that way.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Who else sits around all day focusing on not thinking about things?
Yeah, right.
It's someone who's extremely selfish and vain.
Right.
And, the same the other way. So...
I don't know.
Yeah.
Luke is Luke the key here?
Well, we've talked about this recently, right?
Yeah,
or the idea that he's not truly Jedi.
Right.
He's some kind of new third path.
Yeah. Right. And that maybe this is something that'll be explored in new movies of
hoping.
the new Jedi way where they're not all selfless and they're not all selfish, but they're just normal fucking guys.
Yeah. Hey, just normal dudes, lightsabers, hanging out. Yeah.
That's the title of episode 8, by the way.
Normal dudes,
normal
lightsabers,
dudes with lightsabers, just hanging out.
Yeah. I'll say this. This, when I heard the news in 2011, even though it took me 2 years to actually watch the show, it was like a glass of cold water.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Because it was this thing where it was like I ended up talking to my friend on IM for 2 hours.
Sure.
Billable time, of course.
Yeah, right.
And I hadn't talked about Star Wars like that in years.
Right.
And so it really did kickstart. It got me thinking about the Force again and how it goes.
Sure.
So in that way, I think that's what it's all meant to do, is encourage discussion. And look what it led us to, Ron. We're talking about these existential questions of what is selfishness and what is not.
True.
Well done, George.
Very well done.
Once again, George wins.
And folks, if you haven't watched the Clone Wars, please do.
Yeah.
Please listen to our episode early on. We have an episode about the Clone Wars and why we thought that they were great and why they actually brought us back into being true Star Wars fans. Star Wars fans. Being less jaded Star Wars fans.
More selfless. More selfish.
Yeah.
And don't forget to listen to that WTF is the Force episode, because I feel it's gotten underperformed.
Yeah.
I haven't listened to it myself.
I haven't listened to it either.
It might be bad.
I think.
Just listen to the new ones, guys.
Well, once again, I think that the subject of the Force, it still eludes us. We still don't have a clear definition of it.
I'll tell you this much: if the new movie doesn't encourage this much discussion on this level, it has failed.
It has failed.
Sure. This was able to get this much thought going.
That's true.
From just 60 minutes.
That's true, because that's what Star Wars is to me. It's not about it's not about just collecting. It's not about being geeking out in front of the TV for hours on end.
Yeah.
But it's about it's about discussions.
Yeah.
It's about actually talking about this stuff because it may not all make a lot of sense. Some of it may make no sense whatsoever, but it does actually
Would you say
lead to discussion.
Would you say your favorite thing then about the Star Wars mythos is the open-endedness of it?
Sure.
So like a riddle, like a mystery.
Yes.
Would you say Star Wars is truly the mystery box?
Oh my God.
Yes.
No,
Yes.
I would not say that.
Now today earlier we had this similar thing happen where I accidentally commended JJ on the not releasing anything.
Oh, right. Yeah, well, JJ's... Well, time will tell.
Time will tell. I'm starting to come around, though. Like, there was a whole article today about how annoying all these press releases are. Spider-Man's going to be in the next Avengers movie.
Yeah.
How cool would it be if he just showed up in it? And
right.
Didn't know.
We didn't know. We didn't read a press release telling us that he was going to be in there. He was just going to be in there.
Yeah.
It just happens in front of our eyes. We actually witness it on the big screen for the first time instead of witnessing it in a press release.
Yeah.
Interesting. Right?
No, I think the idea there is that they don't want, back in the day it would happen, I would go see it, I would come back to you and be like, oh my God, you're not going to believe it. Someone shows up.
No,
if I'm a good friend, I don't tell you who, but you got to go see it, and then you'll go see it next week. But they want that opening weekend stuff.
Right. And folks, I should give credit where credit is due. I was listening to a podcast, as I want to do, the Slash Film podcast, which, JP, I know that you have some reluctance to embracing anything Slash Film. I will tell you this, the Slash Film podcast doesn't seem as affiliated to the Slash Film website. It's run by a different person, different... The guys who host the podcast, they rarely, as far as I know,
contribute to the
website.
Huh.
But they were the ones that were actually talking about this, about should Spider-Man, the news of Spider-Man being brought back into the Marvel universe, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, should that have been told to us through a press release, or should have just happened on the screen? And how great would it have been if it was just a surprise, as we witnessed it on the big screen?
Yeah. Meanwhile, I was doing NyQuil, and I could sense that you were reading this through the Astra.
Right. But, well, no, I was talking to you about it, but there, and it was an interesting discussion that they were having about this, right? And the conclusion that they came up with, or the conclusion that they came to, was basically, in this day and age, that's not how the world works. If there's news, everyone's looking for content. So, hey, Star Wars or Spider-Man is going to be in, he's now, Sony and Marvel Pictures they've come to a deal, and Spider-Man can now be a part of the Marvel universe, right? That's news. Let's throw that out there because we need to generate hype. We need to, people need to continue to talk about this,
I stand
right?
by, I think it's more about the opening weekend than anything. It's just they want to get it, they are taking out the middleman of having your friend tell you that guy's in the movie, and they're just going to do a press release.
Right.
They're
but
your friend.
As much as they came to the conclusion that that's not the world we live in, that, things can't be a surprise on the big screen, that where the public, the fandom hungers for any tidbit of news prior to the movies coming out. We need to know it all before it happens, right? That's the conclusion they came to, right?
Sure.
But so far on, was this February 10th, 2015, Star Wars seems to be bucking that trend.
Yeah.
We do not know very much about this. We know very little about this movie.
We have a lot of rumors that I'm more and more convinced are predominantly fanfic.
Yeah, there's that
weird thing that he supposedly said they wanted to move it up and make it released quicker.
Yeah, right. None of this, nothing is on a day-to-day basis that I'm following these rumors and whatever.
Yeah.
None of this is ever confirmed or denied by anybody who is in the position to confirm or deny these things.
Yeah.
Right? All we know is we've gotten an 88-second trailer and a cast list.
And it's funny, you and I talk about these all the time to each other.
Yeah.
And these rumors. And I think we both kind of feel like we sort of have the idea of what the beats are going to be in the story, sort of. Just from all these rumors.
Right.
Because they're kind of getting a vague shape, at least.
Right.
But then the other day we were talking about it, and we were talking about Daisy Ridley, and who we've all accepted to supposedly be the lead.
Right.
And I realized I don't have a single clue what she does in the story.
Yeah, right.
I know she's looking for Luke at one point. I know she supposedly has interactions with Max von Sydow, and she's supposed to be Han Solo's daughter, but that doesn't tell me what she does. Like, I know what Luke does, beat for beat, in A New Hope.
Right.
So
just think about this. For all we know, officially, all we know is Daisy Ridley jumps on a speeder and drives away. Right. That could be all she does in the movie. She could be an extra to just see something in the distance and drives away.
Gosh, wouldn't that be so
drives past our main characters and that the story continues from there. Like, we don't know, but everybody is like, oh, we know.
I really hope that JJ, having learned his lesson from the Khan thing in Star Trek, that this time he's like, motherfuckers, they think I'm done, and he has some huge prank. Where it's like he's leaked all these fake scripts.
Right.
He's cast people who aren't really in it.
Right.
All that would be awesome.
Well, I think we're
I'm kind of excited again.
No, right.
I think going back to excited.
I think we've pretty much wrapped up our Mortis Trilogy talk.
Yeah.
I wanted to, we've veered off into Force Awakens talk, which is probably going to happen more and more as we get closer and closer to the date, whatever that date is. We don't even know now.
That's right. And we only had one coughing fit where we had to stop recording, so we're doing pretty good.
But I would say this.
Puke bucket's only halfway full. If
you're like us and you're following these rumor sites and, hanging on every leak that, supposedly is happening, just remember this. All the rumor sites, none of them were even close to getting the names of these characters right.
Right, that's true.
Right?
Yeah.
Like
I'm still not close to getting these characters' names right, though.
We don't even know if those character names are correct.
Poe Dameron?
Poe Dameron.
Poe Dam.
Right? Who knows? But, I don't know. It's
fun to talk about.
It's fun to talk about. And we're going to continue to talk about it. And hopefully it'll keep getting more and more interesting as we get closer and closer to the date. Till then, we'll continue to kind of veer off away from The Force Awakens and bring you more and more granular topics.
Yes, tune in next week for a character bio of someone.
Actor bio. Yes. Actor bio. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, folks.
Yeah.
Until next time, keep talking Star Wars.
For real.
Help! I'm stepping into the Twilight Zone. The place is a madhouse, feels like being cloned. My beacon's been moved under moon and star. Where am I to go now that I've gone too far? Help, I'm stepping into the Twilight Zone. The place is a madhouse, feels like being cloned. My beacon's been moved under moon and star.